Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. Still the weekend. Butterscotch coffee mate, erythritol. I'm still getting into that. Almond milk, unsweetened, and coffee. Doing pretty good with it. So, how's everybody doing? Pretty good on my end. Mark just left for work, and I decided today, since I'm by myself, I would revisit my Ask It basket. So, for anyone who's not familiar with the Ask It basket, it's comprised of topics that I've put in here and also ones that viewers and subscribers have shared. So it's basically topics that I'm going to pull out of the basket and then share some comments and thoughts on that I have pulled out of somewhere else. If you have a topic or a suggestion that you would want to hear about, you can leave it in the comments below. I picked them at random. The only preparation I have is that I know the topics that are in here. But beyond that, I don't have anything really prepared. So, not that that's the gist of it. That's the kind of the point of it. So, it's not that I didn't, have something prepared for y'all. This is the shtick of it. So, I got one. Let's see what we pulled. Weight loss. Okay. So, for anyone who doesn't know, and I probably put too much coffee mate in there because it tastes more like a milkshake than coffee, but life's short. This channel, Smokey Steve and Mark, I'm Steve, by the way, Mark's at work, started as a weight loss channel originally. It's about, I guess, 2 years ago or so. The original name of the channel was Smoke Yourself Thin, little tongue in cheek. And I lifted that from The Simpsons. Troy McClure, who was a off and on character on the Simpsons TV show, marketed that as a product, and so I lifted it from there. And then eventually I lost enough weight at that point that it didn't seem to, once you lose so much weight, it's not a weight loss channel anymore. And then we had transitioned over and Mark came on and things went that way. But I've had weight issues off and on my entire life. I was an obese kid and then had eating disorder issues when I was a teenager and then kind of was okay in my early 20s and then relapsed back into some more eating disorder behaviors and then picked up some new ones in a relationship and then carried those out until I was closing in on 30 and then I was obese again and then my weight loss journey now. So it's been, I have a little bit of insight into weight loss and of course weight gain. On my recent weight loss journey, when I started the channel here, I was about 230 pounds. My high weight before that, I had started about 4 months earlier, and I had lost about 40 pounds in 4 months. In fact, my first video ever on this channel was a what I ate today type video that was 40 pounds in 4 months. And I look back and I think, ooh, it has some of the most views, actually, of all my videos, but that was the first one I did, and that was after having lost weight. I wanted to start documenting it earlier, but I had had a lot of false starts trying to lose weight. I think that's something a lot of people who've dealt with trying to lose weight over time can relate to. You gain 20 pounds, you lose 40, you gain 20 back, you lose 60, you gain 80 back. It's an issue for a lot of people. The amounts might be smaller. I've had swings of pretty much about 100 pounds. Up and down. My highest weight as an adult was about 290, and my lowest weight as an adult was in the 140s, probably like 145 to 150. And the low weight, that was including all the extra skin that I had left over because I had been so big before I lost weight that I was left with a lot of it in my chest and in my stomach, which I still have. Even when I was a teenager, I still had that. It's hard to talk about weight loss without talking about like obesity, I guess, too. The whole body positive. This is a controversial thing, so I'm just going to talk about this in theoretical terms. I'll keep it on me. I was not body positive at my high weights, and I know there's different expectations for being a person of size if you're a woman than if you're a man. Like, there's always different expectations if you're a woman than a man. I said I wasn't going to say debatable stuff. But being a bigger guy, I still felt shame and like I didn't fit in and like I didn't you know, have the same appeal. And being a part of the gay community, that has its own set of standards and, idiosyncrasies and stuff like that. So I didn't feel like I even belonged in not only in the larger culture, but in that subculture. I didn't feel like I belonged. So I was like, where is there room for me? Literally, where is there room for me? Uh, so that wasn't something that I had latched onto, and I don't think it's trying to find a motivation to lose that weight. Starting at such a high starting point. I know some folks will come to a place, and I've heard it because I watch 600 Pound Life, like most people who have a large history with at least thinking about food and weight and stuff like that. I, of course, like the Food Network. I like watching 600 Pound Life. The show Skin Tight is okay. Makes me fantasize about getting skin surgery at some point. Um, I get obsessed with those kind of things. I find them really interesting. And the idea that when you're starting a weight loss journey, you have to do it with self-love and self-care, and that will motivate you to continue forward with the journey. I don't mean to call crap on that, but I lost 100 pounds when I was a teenager, and no one could have hated themselves more than I did then. You can hate yourself beyond belief and still lose weight. So one does not necessarily have to do anything with the other. Trust me. It's a nicer journey if you're not torturing yourself. I can't really weigh in on the cause of other people's why they're obese. It seems like there's a few schools of thought that it's food addiction can lead to it. Some people think that it's like an eating disorder, that it's a malfunction of the mind kind of thing. I guess food addiction would kind of overlap with that a little. There's kind of the moral argument that a person may just be a glutton or an excessive pleasure seeker, which makes them greedy and needy and all that stuff. And they try to fill that with food. So that has more of like a moral sort of seven deadly sins component to it. Whatever the reason, me being a big person, and I had lifted this off of Susan Powter, the crazy short-haired blonde stop the insanity woman. She's still around. She's in a very different space in her life than she used to be, but she's still around. And she had made a comment one time in one of her videos on YouTube saying, as far as fat acceptance, and she uses the word fat. I feel fine with the word fat. I'll, in a general sense. You can be fat and you can be a great partner. You can be artistic. You can be talented. You can be incredible at your job. You can be a CEO. You can be beautiful. You can have a great sex life. But over the long term, and this I agree with, you cannot be fat and be healthy. The only reason I find that to be true, and I'm not talking about anyone else, I'm talking about me, is that my body started to wear down. And in my mid-30s started to wear down. And that was with intermittent periods of being like at a normal weight, but like I have arthritis in my hips and in my one knee because my body was literally starting to collapse under its own weight, at the age when I thought I would have another 30. I don't know what age I thought I would get arthritis, but I mean, 30 more years, maybe something. In the efforts to run away from being overweight that threw me into some eating disorder behaviors, that left a whole trail of damage all its own, too. So I think there's a lot of different reasons people get big and become obese. And then there's a lot of different ways people go about losing the weight if they're interested in losing the weight. One of the things that, we're on YouTube, so if we're going to talk about weight, there's some heavy folks on YouTube. Some would argue that they capitalize off of their size. It's primarily women that I've followed. I'm not saying it's primarily women, period, because frankly, I haven't looked for any men who do it. There's a woman that, Chantal, who I do review videos of once a week, and she's as open more at sometimes than not others, talking about her weight issues. Amberlynn Reed is another one. They're not necessarily weight loss channels. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But weight impacts every single one of their videos, whether they mean it to or not. So it's more voyeuristic into life of an obese person. No matter what they want the content to be, the content is about the life of an obese person. And I hope they get that. because that's, I mean, from my judgmental eyes, that's what I'm seeing. Um, it'd be one thing if they were like really on a weight loss journey, really trying, and sometimes you get your hopes up and sometimes you don't. But I guess if you're talking about someone who's a food addict, if it's like any other addiction, sometimes you do get everyone's hopes up and let them down. My drug of choice was alcohol. I'm and you do try to rally people to get on your side. I'm going to be different this time. I'm going to get myself together. And I think I've seen some other YouTubers like those two women do that with their subscribers, and people get on their side and they get new subscribers who don't know that they've had a lot of setbacks before. And then they kind of fall out of what they're trying to do, either give up, give in, quit, have lied about being honest about, actually doing it in the first place. And people get burned out. And for those two ladies, it seems like food addiction is really what's driving them to be heavy. I was not an eat all day type of person. I love a good binge. I definitely loved a good binge. I do intermittent fasting now, and pretty much the 1 meal a day thing. And because it mirrors a binge, and I like to binge. Some things didn't go away. I didn't turn into the kind of person who eats 3 meals and 2 snacks a day. I didn't suddenly start liking kale and avocado. I tried every fad diet over a long period of time. To me, they were fads because I didn't embrace any of them as a lifestyle. I went vegan for a while, but I was just eating vegan food, and barely. I didn't embrace any other part of, the lifestyle that some people who are vegan, create for themselves, or keto. Like, there's a whole other set of principles that seem to go around that. I tried doing the diet one time and it didn't stick because, well, it just wasn't for me, but also, I didn't subscribe to any other part of it. So I had tried all sorts of different fad things, and then when I tried the intermittent fasting thing, it was the closest thing that I landed on with it. I like to, and I guess I'll wrap it up with this. When it comes to weight loss, and as a person who's lost weight, and I know the guys and gals, mostly gals, hey everybody, who watch my videos have had issues or have issues, maybe did once upon a time, with weight at some point, because it started as a weight loss channel. Many of us did it via different means. There was many pathways into getting into recovery with that. And that mirrors substance use and abuse and dependence and losing weight. There's many different ways people do it. As long as you get to the finish line, was there really a wrong way to get there? If one person, cut out gluten and they dropped 80 pounds, and another person cut out carbs, and someone else went low-fat vegan, and they get to their desired weight, and they're looking good, and they're feeling good, more importantly, and they're healthy, and they have decent blood work, is that really all that matters? I think a lot of us will give credit to the thing. We'll say something like, I've tried everything else and this is what worked for me. One of the reasons I like intermittent fasting, it worked for me, of course. So if someone says, what did you do? That's exactly what I'm going to tell them that I did, and that I still continue to do to maintain as best I can. So I think a lot of us will be activists for the thing that worked for us because we've tried a lot of other stuff and we found what was a good fit for us. So in terms of weight loss, that would be the only, if there's any advice to give, and if I've continued to yo-yo diet over 100 pounds over 15 years, I'm not even sure I'm the person who should be giving it. But to the extent that I have any insight, I think finding what works for each of us individually, and my suggestions are not profound, finding what works for each of us individually is what's important. Something that's reasonable that can be maintained over the long term. I'm not one for water fasts, crash diets, diet pills, exactly. I mean, if you're working with your doctor or psychiatrist because your obesity is at the point where you need medical interventions, that's different. That's between you and your doctor, what y'all decide to do. I'm talking like over-the-counter Dexatrim type stuff. I used to play with that. It's not good. It's not good to do. Just find what you can stick with over the long term. And as long as it doesn't, wreck your body, as long as it's not a trade-off. I used to joke when I was a teenager, I don't care what the inside of my body looks like as long as the outside looks good. And that was my thought. So I just chain smoked and drank Diet Coke pretty much for a few years. I I did see my hips though, and at the time that seemed like a fair trade. God, I was an idiot. God, I was such a stupid teenager. But, you know, we live and learn. We live and learn. So those are my thoughts on weight loss and an invariably weight gain. Um, Again, this wasn't meant to take shots at anybody's journey towards weight loss and recovery. Like I said, we all go about it different ways. It's good to find community, I think, though, with people who do it in the same way as you, so you can share recipes and support and that kind of thing. Um, it doesn't mean you have to love yourself first before you can get started, or you have to feel like you're ready, or that you have to put it off until after something like that. I don't think that's required. I think people do it, but I don't think you have to. I think the next meal could be the first time to make a change. So thank y'all for watching and listening to the Ask It Basket. Again, if you have any suggestions or recommendations for a topic, please leave it in the comments below. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and you can follow us on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc. Our email and contact information is below. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with y'all soon. Bye.